explore the wisdom of the revered Narada Bhakti Sutras, a cornerstone of Hindu devotion, with His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda. Experience 45 enlightening lessons on the essence of Bhakti Yoga. Discover the path to pure love for God and transcend the material world. Embrace the teachings that have guided devotees for centuries. Attain spiritual perfection through devotion. Prepare to understand the depths of divine love. Find your path to spiritual enlightenment. Trust in the sutras. Follow these instructions. Be blessed with devotion. And now, His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Sutam devam kansachanurmardanam devki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality, and blessed self in all adorations. Narada Bhakti Sutras, presently Sutra number 54. Bhakti Yoga is focused on integrating your feelings, emotions, developing insight into what is love, and directing it towards God. You don't have to direct it, because as you develop insight, you realize instinctively you are sustained by God. Your mind is constantly enjoying divine presence. You are not aware of it fully. If you are aware, then there is no problem. In general, people do not have the more detailed view of their existence. What I'm relating to is that each one of you has gone through many lives. How many? Don't ask. It's beyond mathematics. And if you are not thinking of many lives, just think of 5 lives. Do you think all that you have experienced here is enough? And the challenges you have faced, if you had any idea of what was your previous personality, you realize so much experience entered your mind. So many things you struggled with. But all through, one thing was there. In each embodiment, you wanted to love and wanted to be loved. And led by karma, in this God's world, you are presented with so many situations. In other words, each embodiment, you had loving relations, but the instinct, the urge to love, did not find fulfillment. Therefore, from one embodiment, kick the bucket. Again, there is a whole drama. Similar relations develop: husband, wife, children, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, friends. If you are very famous, then add fans. All the relations develop. And then, again, you may be at the height of your glory, but there is no fulfillment. You haven't found perfection of love. It's just like someone who would go after the shining sun. But there is some obstruction due to which somehow his mind is too dazzled to look at the sun, too confused to go after the sun. But what seems so wonderful is, why not go after all the clouds? All these clouds are bringing the beauty of the sun. Loving a rainbow is easier than loving the sun. That's the predicament of the soul. Soul is equipped with conditioned mind. And through conditioned mind, the blazing presence of God is too much. And so every soul wanders from embodiment to embodiment. And it seems you gather lots of shining clouds. It's just like in a dream. You have gathered lots of wonderful apples from an apple tree. And by the time you have gathered, you wake up. Nothing can you carry. So all that you gather from life to life just goes into nothing. And yet there is always an illusion. I have caught it. One cloud is just little shining, another one shines brighter, stays longer. So I got it. And similarly, the predicament of you found someone who loves you intensely in different forms of relations. But that again, you had parents, you had wonderful people in the past who loved you very much. And you didn't really find someone who could really love you in a profound. Your soul slipped out like a little cat. So the question, is there real fulfillment? First thing is the general mathematics. That's your instinct. That means you are constantly looking for absolute fulfillment in love. In two ways, to be loved and to love. Therefore, there is such possibility, and that will be liberation. Now that's what your mind has to focus on, that there is divine love in which these two items, two aspects are fulfilled, to love and to be loved, in an infinite measure. If you have that experience, you won't tumble from one embodiment to another. You will not go into the drama of countless relations. And of course, you should thank God that He doesn't give you the recollection of the old times. One life is enough. So now we're getting into the deeper understanding of divine love. Divine love, developing divine love, that's bhakti. And supreme attainment is called para bhakti, supreme devotion. Gunarahitam, kamanarahitam, pratikshana vardhamanam, avichinnam, sukshmataram, Anubhavarupam. You should get used to the Sutras, the Oriental writings of the Vedas. They write enormous amount of things in one little capsule. Normal style, they write countless things, sum up very little. Gunarahitam. You are constantly dealing with modes of nature. Your mind is constantly being colored by gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. You must have a simple understanding. When Tamas develops, your mind feels very dull. The mind is in the lowest negative point if tamas develops. But then again, there is another way of looking at it. The gunas have to be there in your personality. Each guna has a positive and negative aspect. Tamas has a positive aspect. If you do not have tamas, you can't go to sleep. There will not be rest for your body. That's why you may have noticed if you become very happy and mind becomes too bright, sleep goes out of your sight. Therefore, one has to manipulate, not to do that type of activity like going into deep meditation or going into profound study before sleeping. If the mind becomes too inspired, then you will not enter deep sleep. So keep things regulated, proper time for everything. So live your life in a disbalanced way, then your nature is not well trained. So everything has to be done in a harmonious way, in a rhythmical way. Now, talking about gunas. Tamas, first I am taking the negative aspect of the gunas. So if tamas is there in you, it means your mind is addicted to being negative. See, addiction has developed from many lives. It is not this life addiction. If you observe people or observe yourself, if day has passed and nothing has happened to excite your imagination, you looked at the TV and every news is good news. No earthquakes, no murders, no terrorists. Then you tell others, find a terror type of cinema. Let's go there. I'm dramatizing it to make you understand how mind becomes spoiled and it seems innocent. You are just getting entertained. More terrorizing a show, better it is for the mind. The more the blood drips from the Dracula's teeth, better. But it is not. You are misusing your mind. That will keep you in a very low level. And as you develop devotion and turn to God, tamas within you tries to use the devotional strength for the fulfillment of your jealousy, for your hate, your anger. For example, in day-to-day life, you find someone has interrupted your progress, whether rightly or wrongly, as long as you believe that way, then you look into the books, scriptural books. Whoever does japa for so long will have the desire fulfilled. So you take your mala and start doing japa. Or pray to God, oh God, move this enemy away from me. If you are a little more polite, let him somewhere exist. If I'm not so polite, let him go to hell. That's tamas in you. You must realize what type of bhakta will you be. The scriptures dramatize it. You will be like Ravana. You will be like Kumbhakarna. Enormous demons. Similarly, if rajas dominates your mind, rajas means mind becomes extremely distracted. You are aware of energy, that you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of potentiality. But what is you are not aware is, what should I work for? What's the target? This results in vanity. Mind goes after vain things. In other words, you go after more social recognition, name, fame, money, power. That's what generally human mind goes after, and that's called success. But as I have explained, bhakti is not there. You have not fulfilled the deepest urge within you to love and to be loved. There will be many illusions of love that will come in the realm of rajas and tamas. If you have a tamasic mind, you hate someone, then there will be always a friend who will tell you how to hate better. The world teems with gossips and talking behind the back of people. And big bonds develop among people. But that's a wastage of mental energy. If you are rajasic, again, your fascination for people will be on the basis of something superficial. Someone wears a good necktie. Of course, I don't have it. I remember the story of a man. He was a laborer, worked very hard, remained always poor, but somehow he worked and accumulated some money and bought a golden ring, put the ring on his finger. And now he went to see his people. And people talked about the same old things, though he went on showing like that again and again. Nobody noticed it. And then he became so frustrated. He came home because he lived in a hut. He set it on fire. Now neighbors all jumped around. They came to extinguish that fire. There was a well nearby, and so they all started drawing water and throwing on the fire. And he was the leader, throwing water on the fire and flashing the finger. It went on for a while, and suddenly someone looked at him. Do you have a real gold? Yes, he said. If you had noticed it, I wouldn't have, but this is an allegorical story. People go out of the way doing many strange things in order to let others notice. And nothing profound comes out of it. That's a rajas. If rajas is more healthy, then people develop they love God, but they want God to help them. If you are a student, you want to pass examination. If you are a business person, then you want to succeed. If you have an economical problem, you want God to help you. All that is healthy, but not super healthy. Because when you get what you want, then tell God, stay quiet. Don't interfere. When sattva develops, that's the most advanced and most desirable development in this world. You become really cultured at very high level, and you will be drawn to good things, good works, good association, study of scriptures. But your goal is to go beyond sattva, and certain simple points have to be understood. Sattva doesn't come in abundance. It comes in a small measure, unless you have done many good karmas. So when sattva comes in a small measure, by the time you are dazzled by sattva, it is gone. Little sattva is a dangerous thing. Dramatize. You went on a trip and found a wonderful place, a tropical island, and by the ocean, early in the morning, as you see the first rays of the sun sweeping over the ocean, and a very spectacular vision. Sattva enters your mind. Feel happy. You say to yourself, I was never happy like this. At least I don't remember. And then suddenly Rajas steps in. Why don't we have a house right here? Then every day, all the happiness will be mine. Tamas sets in. Try to acquire money by hook or by crook. Get all the mortgage, go through all the real estates, and finally when you have created the building or property, now you don't have time to sit and enjoy. Now you have to look at your bills, think of paying the mortgage, and constantly look out for the weather news when the storm is coming. So, little sattva deceived you. If you have more sattva, therefore you must insist on developing sattva. That's what purpose of sadhana is. Every day you're doing japa, meditation, good association, good deeds, all done in a coordinated way, integral way. Then sattva continues to stay in your mind. Then you begin to discover, I'm happy. Nothing has happened, and yet I'm happy. So somehow happiness is not dependent on happenings. Then your intellect says, why don't you learn more about it? There is Vedanta class going on. Learn about scriptures, Ramayana or others. How to develop a perpetual experience of that joy, which is free of happenings, which is always there within your heart. And then you are told that what's there in your heart is God Himself. As an individual soul, you are just a ray. You are reflected, like the sun reflecting in a jar of water. But the reality of the reflection is God. So you begin to, then you come to that state where you let go even sattva. You are no longer dependent upon mood change. Sattva comes, you feel joyous, but you realize the joy created by sattva is again a little reflection. But then the guna begins to play a different part. The greater the clarity in your heart, greater is your attention directed to God. You are looking into a jar of water. You are seeing the reflected sun. But greater the clarity of water, greater is your focus on the real sun. But this reflected sun triggers your mind to the real sun. Now therefore you have transcended the water. It's the water content, the mind that is subject to to changes due to gunas. But you are no longer in the mental realm. Trigunatita, that word is very profound. In the Gita, there is a whole description of the characteristics of one who has attained the state that goes beyond the gunas. So that's the goal. There, if that state has been reached, your instinct, your urge to experience boundless love is absolutely fulfilled in God. Twofold discovery: God loves you as no one can ever do. So no one else exists. And you can have the ultimate attainment of infinite love in God. Your personality, your life is like a stream flowing on. Its only destination is the ocean. All desires move away. Gunarahitam. As long as there are desires left, you move from one embodiment to another. Even while you are alive, if mind has turned to God and devotion has blossomed within you, all desires of your mind begin to fade away. Desires are like clouds. They exist because of moisture. The rays of divine light pass through the cloud. All the moisture begins to move away. And the cloud doesn't even know it. It dazzles. It says, come more and more. Your mind dazzles with divine devotion. And as it dazzles, the desire for maintaining master type of condition moves away. Now there is a desire, when will I be free? When I unload myself of all the moisture, all the illusions. At every step there is a joy as a cloud begins to disperse and the rays begin to flow. Dramatize it. That's the state of bhakti. Desires for transient things, because all desires in this world, they are directed towards things that are in the realm of Maya. Anityam asukham lokam. All things are anityam, means not eternal. Asukham, there is no real joy in them. If your mind continues to desire for those things, then what can you expect? You continue to desire water from mirage to quench your thirst. The result will be negative. Now therefore, as you raise yourself beyond the three gunas and desires dwindle into nothing, divine love begins to unfold like the waxing moon, with one difference. Moon has a limit. It waxes and waxes, but couldn't wax anymore. It becomes full. But this moon of devotion has no limit. It goes on waxing. A saintly poet says, Prem sada badhibo karay, jyon sasi kala suvesh. Love of God goes on waxing, increasing, just like the moon, just like the beautiful moon. Pay puno yame nahi, but there is never full moon in this. Tate kabahunan says, therefore this process never ends. In the world, all attainments are in degrees. There is always a limit. The spiritual joy is beyond limit. It's infinite bliss. When look at rivers, streams, all these are limited expressions. Look at the ocean, boundless. So during lifetime, that will be your experience. Your mind will not say, oh, 2 years back I was a great devotee and now my mind has moved away from it. I don't have time to meditate, I don't have this or that. That's predicament is because you have not attained height, real experience. But once the real experience has been attained, once mind has tasted, the effort moves away from you. You want to invite a fly, just allow the fly to taste a little bit of honey. And then you don't have to worry about it. No invitation needed. Once you let the mind enjoy the bliss of divine love, then there develops a spontaneous internal longing. But also you must realize this is not like things that become interesting to you in the world of objects. Because whatever attitude you build towards objects, your nervous system is involved. Here, your nervous system is not involved. Your mind has to figure out an experience that dawns into it without the use of nerves. In deep sleep, you have similar experience. You are not using nervous system. And yet you move away from everything. That can give you some idea. The more you experience presence of God within yourself, the more you develop patience with yourself. If certain negative things have come, you remind yourself, even this will pass away. Adversity has come, remind yourself, this is not the end. How many lives, how many adversities? Your faith in God will begin to develop more and more. When we say there is a perpetual increasing love, you may build up in your mind very different type of attitude and compare yourself. Am I happier than yesterday? But you have to understand it is a total movement. Things that are changing in your unconscious. Things that are creating a positive movement in your life. One thing for sure, you begin to experience faith. Unshakable faith. And with that faith comes now and then trickling down the joy of divine presence. And then subtle sense of enjoying it goes on growing. Outwardly, you remain more or less the same personality. But all your tastes, inclinations and expressions become superficial. Others may not notice it. See? Even Rama cried like anybody else. They didn't notice that it was very superficial. all these scriptures try to give you an understanding. So if you become involved in profound devotion, it doesn't wipe away your general identity. Your likes, your dislikes, your friends. You suddenly will not move away from people whom you know and get into people whom you never met because you are enlightened. But what happens deep down? Profound change. And that change goes on increasing. It never stops. And you know it, and that makes your life's journey enriching, profound, avicchinnam, ceaseless, unbroken, uninterrupted. If you are in a lesser level of sadhana, you do some japa or some meditation, you have good experience, and then suddenly something happens in your life and it interrupted. You remember 3 years back, what a wonderful practice I was doing. I would have been in deep samadhi if I had just gone on with it. But it's interrupted because of this or that. In a higher level of devotion, cannot be interrupted. Even in this world, when you love your mother, that love is not interrupted. Even when the mother is angry, when the mother is not so pleasant, still the love is not interrupted. It flows in a profound way. Shallow type of love is easily interrupted. Interrupted by lots of frogs. A little more water, it overflows. The divine love is like ocean, profound. It is subtler than the subtle. When you think of what is subtle, mind doesn't give you correct idea because mind is conditioned. Follow a simple illustration. You are experiencing a dream and somehow you are trying to figure out what is subtle around here. In a dream you are in a house and you are seated on a chair. Look, there are so many things there. There are grass, then there are little cobwebs, they are a little subtle. What could be subtler than that? Waking up is subtler than the entire dream world. Consciousness trapped in a conditioned mind. All its concept of subtlety and not subtlety is all illusions. That state which is untrapped is the subtlest state. How to let your mind dissolve, relax in the luminous arms of the divine self. Your mind is a cloud. And where can cloud find good rest? On a bed made out of rays. And the experience of love is Anubhavarupam. Anubhava is direct experience. It is not experience that is coming through the mind, through the senses, but experience that is unfolding. It's a form of revelation. Scriptures try to give you simple illustrations. Father of a student, young student, comes to a school to observe his son, whether his son is practicing or doing the things needed for him to do. At that time when the father comes, he sees all the students of the class, they were chanting some type of a chorus. Teacher comes to him and says, "Did you see your son was doing very well?" He said, "I didn't hear my son at all. I heard all that music going on, but Then while the music was still going on, the teacher went on telling all by his finger, he goes on telling calm. See, in those type of school style, it was very easy. He didn't say to his son to keep quiet, but everyone was made quiet. Now he said, oh, I hear him. He was singing all the time. God within you, the divine presence within you, is always as if singing. The melody of Lord Krishna's flute is continuous. Why are you not listening to it? Because the mind has brought in lots of frogs. Senses have brought in a lot of monkeys. And the noise that comes in the world of conditioned mind, that melody of the soul with the noise around it, is hidden. But if the melody was not there, you wouldn't even exist. That's your deepest nourishment. But you are not aware of it. Until you move away from this world of the senses, the world of the desire mind, Sattva becomes predominant in your mind. Then suddenly you realize the illusion of the world is broken. As if you wake up in a dream, lot of noise going on. You're dreaming of noise. Wake up. Where has the noise gone? So, then you realize that all the time it was there. God is with you all the time, whether you know it or don't know it. Not only God is with you, but you are experiencing the presence of God. Go one step further. Who are you to experience? God alone is. A reflected sun has its own world. But who is the reflected sun? It is the sun. So it is not a matter of acquiring something in a world of time and space. It's a matter of revelation. By moving away from obstacles that are created by conditioned mind and limited senses, profound love of God breaks into the veil of Maya. And Anubhavarupam, Vedantically speaking, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. And with this we conclude. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of spiritual growth. It's an honor to learn from the wisdom of Swami Jyotirmayananda. As we part for now, remember, the quest does not end. Take time to reflect on today's insights and integrate them into your life. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, stay present. The light within you is always shining.